We're ready to start the next panel session. If I can get everyone to return to their seat. Nobody listened. I tried this time earlier.
We're gabbing.
All right, are you guys ready to move on to the next session? We're talking about money. Money, money, money.
Does that help? There you go. Thanks, Christy.
All right, let's get started on our next session. This is an important one, access to finance and funding for small business. So let's get started. I'll hand it off.
Thank you. My name is Jennifer Oldham. I work with the local SBA district office in Lubbock, Texas. We cover all of West Texas and the northern panhandle. Is this super loud or can y'all hear okay? It sounds loud, okay. I am a lender relations specialist, so a lot of what I do is connect small businesses to bankers and other lenders who can help them finance their company. And I've got two of our lenders up here with me. And so I'm going to introduce them. We're going to talk a little bit about some common finance and funding issues that we see with business owners, but we really want to leave a lot of time at the end so that you can ask your questions. So I'll introduce our panel really quick. I've got Kelly Davila here on my left. She's the Deputy Executive Director of the South Plains Association of Governments, also known as SPAG, and the Caprock Business Finance Corporation. Kelly is a graduate of Texas Tech University and a certified public manager. She oversees regional services and economic development under SPAG, which contains several programs, including our SBA 504 loan program, which we're really proud of. They also have the SPAG Lone Star Fund and the SPAG Core loan program, which I believe started during COVID, and they did such a great job with it that it's now an evergreen program, so that's really great. She also oversees pretty much everything else at SPAG. So if you're at a SPAG meeting and they're talking about waste, she talks about that, or water, or pretty much anything that cities in our group, our regional group here, have to encounter. So if you're here with a city or an EDC or a civic organization and you have questions about that sort of stuff, Kelly's a specialist. We have her here. So. And then we also have Jeff Rogers. He's a senior vice president and an ag commercial lender for Western Bank. He's here in Plainview, so he's one of your local people. He's a graduate of Texas Tech University with a degree in ag economics and a graduate of the Texas Tech University School of Community Bank Management. He's a West Texas native, lives in Abernathy, and has been in banking in Hale County for 34 years. So lots of experience up on the panel, so hopefully we can answer all your questions. Before we get started, I wanted to poll the audience. Do we have any startups, new businesses, or businesses under 2 years old in the audience? If you would raise your hand, please. Okay, good. There's a lot of y'all. Okay. And then do we have any other lenders or bankers in the audience? Okay, man. All right, no one to call us out if we say anything wrong. So, all right, well, let's get started. I do have some questions in here for startups and entrepreneurs, so I'll work those in. But let's start with you, Kelly, and can you explain, tell us a little bit about Caprock Business Finance and SPAG and what kind of financing opportunities y'all offer for small businesses.
Great. Thank y'all so much for having me out here. Sorry, that was a little loud too. So our organization is a little bit different. We are not a bank, so we're not a traditional lender in that capacity, but what I think about for Caprock Business Finance Corporation or SPAG, we don't really care what you call us, we're one entity, is that we are kind of a component unit for small business financing. So we offer a variety of programs. Our table back here has a lot of information about what Jennifer mentioned, our SBA 504 program. So Jennifer and her team are with the U.S. Small Business Administration, and we are like a facilitator of one of their programs, is the way I look at that. So Caprock Business Finance is a path for a small business to access SBA 504 financing. And I'll talk first about SBA 504 financing because that's kind of our bread and butter and what a lot of you, especially if you are a startup or you have an existing business, may be thinking about. The SBA 504 program is a great tool that the SBA has had in operation since the 80s, and it is essentially a program that allows a small business owner or a small business starter to purchase things like land, building, fixed assets, and come into the project with less of an injection than a traditional conventional loan, and also have a fixed interest rate for a period of 20 or 25 years, which is huge. The beauty of the SBA 504 program is that every single 504 project that we do as Caprock partners with a local bank. So you can't use the 504 program without a traditional bank. So we have partnerships with all of the banks in West Texas and utilize that program in that way. We have some flyers that get into some of the specifics, but what I always think of is if you're looking for land or a building in particular, or equipment without wheels, I've said that to several of you today, then the SBA 504 program is probably a great tool for your small business. On the flip side, also since the 80s, SPAG, the South Plains Association of Governments, has used our own pool of funding to assist small businesses. So SBA 504 is really land, building, equipment, but there are other needs that small businesses have. Maybe you're going to be leasing a space initially and not going to buy a building. Well, SPAG has programs, including our new Lone Star program and our core program that we launched during the pandemic, to help small businesses with things like leaseholder improvements, inventory, equipment, things like that. All of the information is on our website, caprock504.org. You can come and talk to any of our team that's here. But we essentially partner with banks and with federal entities like the SBA to make a small business whole. So there's a project you have going on, a need you have as a small business. We probably have a program of some sort that is going to work for you. And the beauty of that, again, is the combination of public and private. So these are public programs, either offered by the SBA or by SPAG, that interface with private lenders to help the small business community. So,
Thank you for that, Kelly. So this isn't an SBA panel, but I'm SBA, so if I don't plug it, I'm gonna get in trouble. But our other main program that you may have heard about is the 7A loan program. That's another SBA guaranteed loan program that businesses can use for pretty much any legitimate small business purpose. So anything from working capital to inventory, machinery, and equipment. You can use it for things that 504 cannot be used for, like leasehold improvements, if you want to move into a leased space. Things like that. And those are loans that are done through local lenders and local banks, and SBA guarantees it on the back end. Jeff works for one of our participating lenders who does that program. So Jeff, one thing that I think is really important is for a business to have a relationship with a local lender, with a local bank. Can you kind of explain more why it's so important, especially now when there's so many online lenders and so many ways of getting money online? Why is it important for a business to be connected with a local bank?
You know, everything you have from your vendors that you work with all the way to your bank is a relationship. You've got to develop that relationship. Things are not always going to be great. Luckily, things are not always bad either. But you've got to have that relationship established that you can communicate one-on-one at any time. I mean, you know, my door's always open. I've got people in and out all the time. They drop by. Hey, this is going good. Hey, we got a problem here. Head that stuff off. And, you know, if you go online and get some kind of capital funding out of California and, you know, things are going great and all of a sudden you try to get a hold of them to do something and nobody's answering the phone. Nobody's answering an email, and you find out they're gone. You've got no real contact there, and that's very important in a small business. I mean, now all of a sudden you don't know what you've got because they've just disappeared. You had no face with it. Faces are very important. And this group up here, very diverse group. Like she said, we're all kind of partners ourselves in working with y'all through various capacities, from start to mid-ground to expansion to ultimately successful and graduated maybe away from them strictly to that bank. But through that process, we've all worked with you face-to-face, which you would not have otherwise.
Yeah, that's really important. What you said is having a lender that works with you from the beginning when you start your business through all phases of growing your business. One thing we see a lot is, a lot of online lenders are excited to do your startup loan, right, up front. And then they, slap a UCC or a lien on all your business assets. And so a year from now, when you need an operating line or you need, money for inventory or to expand or you need a new piece of equipment or something like that, you go back to that lender and they're like, well, that's not really what we do. We do startups and we do these loans. We don't do operating lines and things like that. So then you go to your local bank and you try to get one, and well, they can't give you one either because all your business assets are tied up with this startup loan with this lender that can't finance the things you need. So you really want to not just be so anxious to get that money quickly and up front that you don't think through, how is this going to serve my business in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? So I can't say enough. One of the main things, Kim Voss in the back, she's my coworker. She helps me. We serve 71 counties of small businesses. And so one of the main things we try to do is connect people in West Texas with our local banks because we know they're going to be with you for the life of your business. So
I was going to add, Jennifer, one of the things we saw with our pandemic program, and there may be some of you here, we also operated the Plainview Cares program that they did for their small businesses here in Plainview with their ARPA dollar or their CARES Act dollars. We helped them with that. The biggest part about having that local relationship, to your point also, Jeff, is that when things do go bad, and there will be hard times, even in the best plan, there will be difficult times, that face-to-face relationship is what's going to salvage that. We have several small businesses that we worked with during the pandemic who have kind of had some ups and downs, right? But we have a relationship with each and every one of them. Our entire team is here locally. So when they call us and say, can we visit about extending our period of interest-only payments? Can we see what options we have now that, we've had to restock inventory and having some trouble? We have a relationship with them, and that's going to be the same for your local bank as well. So that relationship for the good stuff when you start, but also when times are a little tougher is really going to be a big deal.
Okay, I got another question for you, Kelly. If someone has a small business and they need access to financing, where should they start?
That's a great question. Anytime someone calls us, we do get walk-ins and calls all of the time. Our very first question is, are you working with a local lender? So back to Jennifer's point, a lot of times people don't necessarily have a commercial lending relationship, but they might have, a business bank account set up. So we'll start the conversation of, okay, where are you banking right now? And then do we know somebody there on the commercial side? And we can help kind of connect you. But you're always going to want that private bank in there. And so we redirect everyone first call out of the gate. The other thing that I really want to plug, and I know Chuck was just up here, but the Small Business Development Center in particular, for those of you that are startups, but you don't just have to be a startup. There's a lot of benefit to the Small Business Development Center if you're expanding or re-changing kind of what your business model has been. That resource is so valuable to a small business. They will sit with you and work on market analysis, things you haven't thought of. If my passion is, screen printing t-shirts and I'm so creative and I've figured all of these things out, I probably don't know the first thing about how to do my taxes or what my competition is or what those things are. And the Small Business Development Center is a great resource that we send a lot of people to help figure out, okay, what do they really need to do? Well, how much do they really need to borrow? That's a question that your lender is not really going to be able to help you with, but the Small Business Development Center is going to give you some good direction there. So those are always great starts. And then the third thing, obviously, with what we do is I always say it's good to have a banking relationship. It's good to have, resources that have helped you look at your business model, but it's good to know what all's out there. I can't tell you how many people I come in contact with that just say, I met somebody just a few minutes ago that said, I wish I had known about you 2 years ago. We've always been here, but you always have to explore all of your options. And your lender may not be familiar with the program or may not realize it's a good fit. We try to do a lot of trainings for our area lenders to remind them, but look at all of your resources. Talk to your friends too. I can't tell you how many referrals we've had from small business owners that have said, hey, my friend so-and-so owns a different type of small business, but we were talking and they use the SBA 504 program or they use the SPAG Lone Star program. And so now we have this question. So your lender, all of your resources, and the Small Business Development Center are kind of my top three.
Okay, awesome. All right, Jeff, so we come to you to apply for a commercial loan. What are the things that you're going to need to know from us? What do we need to be prepared to come and meet with you when we're ready for financing?
Okay. Kelly mentioned the Small Business Development Center. I've sent a lot of people there through the years that are going to start up a business. That's a great place to start with because they help put a package together that you can bring to me as a commercial lender that tells your story. Where are you headed? What are your goals? What's going to be your market? What's going to be your business model? They do a tremendous job. Along with that, then, we need the good fun stuff. Sorry to say. We're gonna need financial statements. We're gonna need tax returns. But along with that, make notes on all that. Your business tax return. Bring in things that are going on within that tax return that further explains it. Just looking at the numbers doesn't tell the story. Bring the whole story along with it. At the end of last year, I prepaid $50,000 worth of this stuff for this coming year. Well, that all went as an expense on the previous year. That kind of explains why maybe that year didn't look so good. Bring that story along with the numbers. We want the real picture, not just a tax return picture. Good financials. Make sure you've documented everything. We've got to have good detail to look at that. And along with all that, we can sit down and go over all of that. And a lot of times it falls back into, okay, we need to call Jennifer. There's some programs out there that will shore up this one spot right here that needs some help. Maybe it is with Kelly on some of their programs. But start, like she said, we kind of are the start, but then they're there to help fill in any gaps that we find in those initial numbers.
Yeah, good. I would say the other thing too is don't go to your bank and say, how much can you loan me?
Yeah.
Like, you need to have a plan in place. What are you trying to do? What is it going to cost you to do that? And how do you plan to spend that money? I need to borrow $50,000. What do you need to borrow it for? What are you going to use it for? How is that going to generate income in your business to repay the loan? All those things. I mean, it's definitely okay to go and meet the lender and start that. Say, hey, I'm wanting to go down this path. I want to open this kind of business. Is that something, if I get the numbers worked out, is that something you're interested in working with me on? You can always have that conversation for sure. But the more you can come prepared and tell them, that's going to really help you out. Another great resource partner we have, which hasn't been mentioned yet, is SCORE. And SCORE are they're volunteer business mentors. They are other business owners who are in business in your area who volunteered to work with other business owners. They also do business planning, but they're really great resource to just have someone where you can call and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this or that, and just kind of get some advice from someone else who's also out there doing the work running a business. And their website is score.org, O-R-G, and you can go and click, I think it says find me a mentor or match me with a mentor. It's going to say Dallas chapter. We're a sub-chapter of the Dallas chapter, but we have a chapter in Lubbock. It's local people, so please feel free to look at that. Another resource we have, if you're not what we would consider bankable, so maybe your credit score is not great, or it's kind of moderate, or you only need a small amount. A lot of times it's difficult for some banks have trouble making the smaller loans, okay? So, and especially if you have marginal credit. So we do have a network of what we call mission-based lenders. They're non-bank lenders who can work with people who just need smaller amounts. Maybe their credit's not so great. And they also can offer that counseling and business planning, market research type assistance. The one we have locally is People Fund. And it's just like it sounds, people and the word fund, FUND.org. And you can go to their website. They also have some specific loan programs for women and for veterans. So you're welcome to check them out. And for us, we call them micro lenders, and for us, that's loans under $50,000. So I just want to put that plug in there. But getting back on track, let's see. Now it's Kelly's turn. Kelly, what are the most common financing issues that you see small businesses face when you're meeting with them?
The pandemic really changed a lot for our organization and what we were seeing and dealing with a lot of our small businesses. We've hit on it a lot, but I can't keep emphasizing. One of the biggest things that we see is a small business thinking they're ready to do something, but not having established a lending relationship. So I really cannot stress that enough. If you have a business bank account, go figure out who your contacts are at that bank. Have a relationship with that bank before you ever need anything. The other thing that we come across a lot, every program, a bank has a requirement that Jeff was going over about financial documents. We have all of the same financial documents. Every program needs something slightly different. A lot of really small businesses, maybe that their business falls under their personal tax return, and so they're not keeping monthly financial statements. So it's really important as a small business that you get in the habit and figure out, even if you're not outsourcing your accounting, figuring out how to do a monthly income statement or a profit and loss statement and having a balance sheet for your business. Learn those basic tools. I know people talk about QuickBooks a lot. SBDC does QuickBooks classes. There's different programs you can use. I'm not here for QuickBooks, but there's different things you can use. But learn how to really understand the ins and outs of your business outside of just that tax return. Because to Jeff's point, which I thought was really well made, one tax return is not going to tell your entire story, and you may not want it to. So really get familiar with your financial statements and understanding kind of the ins and outs of your business. Those are probably the two biggest pitfalls that we see small businesses struggling with. Once we get further into a project, there's other complications. If you're going to buy land and say build a building, now you have to figure out, how do I hire a contractor? What do I do? Your bank can help you with some direction, but you're gonna have to figure out, what do you need? Who's gonna help me design this building? Those are different things. And again, if you're used to running your business, that's kind of a whole new world of doing that. So understanding what's out there and kind of what the big picture is. I liked your point, Jennifer. We have people come in all the time and say, how much can you loan me? That's not the starting point that you want to make. You want to start with, what do you actually need? I made the comment to someone earlier at our table, not all debt is bad debt. We're West Texas, so we like to self-fund our small businesses, and I love that about this region. But not all debt is bad debt. But you also don't just want to go in and get a blank check, because you're now on the hook for that. So really, really be conservative and think about what you want for your business.
Okay, Jeff, kind of the same question, but a different angle. What are some of the common things that you see that create financial burdens for small business owners?
Okay. One of the things that gets a lot of small businesses is you don't go in with enough working capital to get your operation, day-to-day operation funded. That's going to be a key thing. You've got a loan for your inventory, you've got a loan for your building. All of that's pretty well established, and then you're 6 months into it and cash flow's a little short. You didn't have enough working capital to keep the electric bills paid and any employees paid. Make sure you've established all of your working capital needs up front, and that's established either through a line of credit or cash going into it. Stay on top of any employment taxes, your employee taxes. Stay on top of sales taxes. Those can immediately freeze accounts and shut businesses down. You've got to stay current on all of that stuff. One of the key things is burnout, guys. A lot of you can be a one-person operation. Burnout is a huge factor. You start trying to cut corners at that point. End of the day, I'm tired. I'll do all that bookwork tomorrow when I feel better. That stuff will start ballooning on you, and then all of a sudden it's like, how do I dig out of this hole now? So watch burnout. I can't say I have the solution answer to that, because we all have that. Even I do it at the bank a lot. But give yourself some time at some point to make sure you stay recharged. Don't count on employees to do that stuff for you. You're the owner. It's your responsibility. It ultimately comes back to you, and employees are not going to probably be as attentive or keep up with it like you need or you would.
You got anything to add to that? Any last minute kind of keys or tips that you would say help a small business be successful in this financing realm?
Probably just a shameless plug. We have some flyers out too, but we're having a similar event to this with a little bit more in-depth detail on September 12th. The West Texas Small Business Summit that's been happening for a few years in Lubbock is coming up. And one of the things I noticed in kind of going through this, we've talked about a lot of the financial pitfalls. We have a couple of workshops where we have small business accountants and other lenders and financial advisors kind of going into the weeds a little bit on some of those things. So if you think that could be benefit for your business. The other thing that we probably aren't going to get into on this panel or a few others are the legal and compliance issues that face a small business. Maybe you've been running it out of your home and now you're ready to branch out. What kind of legal entity should you be looking into? So there's going to be a lot of resources there on September 12th, and we have those flyers out as well. So finding out what's out there is a good place to do it.
Yeah.
Let me add one thing. The marketing panel that was up here did a tremendous job. Marketing is key to the success of all small businesses. But also along with that, be adaptable. Things change. As we saw through the pandemic, it has completely changed the business world altogether from small to big. So be adaptable to all that and stay nimble on your feet because your targets can change constantly.
All right. So we have harped on our resource partners, y'all, but I just want to sum up everything by saying whether you're a startup or you've been in business for 5-10 years, our resource partners, the Small Business Development Center, SCORE, your local lenders, the CDCs like Caprock, it's, all of West Texas feels like one big small town. We all know each other. We all work together. So if you go to the wrong place, they know who else is out there. We also have resource partners who can help you get started with government contracting. We have resource partners who can help with manufacturing and different things like that. So if you're a veteran, there's resources out there that can help you. So reach out to one of us, get somebody's business card, and if what you need isn't something that we can help with, we're all connected, so we can get you in the right direction. One of the best services that my office offers is Kim and I maintain what we call our most active lender list. If you're looking to get an SBA loan, you can't just walk into any branch and ask about getting an SBA loan. Usually most of our local banks have one or two people who really know our programs, and you need to be talking to the right person. So if you are getting ready to go and meet with your bank, even if it's the bank you've been working with forever, feel free to reach out to our office and we can tell you who at that bank does all their SBA lending and make sure we're getting you connected with the right person. That's really helpful. So with that being said, we want to open it up for questions. So if anybody has questions, I believe someone's going to carry around a mic, but if not, if you could speak loudly so we could hear you. So. Man, we must have done a great job. I know asking questions about financing can kind of feel personal sometimes. So I want to reiterate, everything we do is private and confidential. And so, if these are conversations you'd rather have on the side, we're going to be here throughout the day. So, but if anybody has a question that you think might benefit the whole audience, please be bold. We have no plants in the audience, so.
Back here.
Yes.
Thank you. So I'm personally an independent contractor, and I'm starting to deal with I probably should deal with maybe becoming an actual LLC, which is a little tricky because you can pretty much be an independent contractor forever and not need to do that. But obviously you need to do growth. So if you're going to grow from being a contractor to a business, being an LLC or some more solid entity is important. So what would you say, especially in the financial realm, when would an independent contractor be like, I think I need to take the next step, especially financially?
I think that's a great question. I'll plug back again to I'm not an accountant or an attorney, but we do have some speaking at the summit on September 12th, specifically to this issue. But I just want to point out this happens a lot. And so we have some programs where being an independent contractor doesn't, get in the way of somebody accessing some of our financing programs. But we have a lot, including the SBA 504, and there's more out there, that you need to be an owner-occupied business and not like a 1099 contractor for another business. And so I would say, besides first and foremost talking to your accountant and your attorney, thinking about what is that next step and what financing are you going to need that might be prohibited or not accessible because you're in a contractor status. So that to me is the financial angle of thinking about that switch.
She pretty well nailed that. I mean, we're not CPAs or lawyers, so be sure and discuss that with them. But as far as forming an LLC from a commercial bank side, that is not an issue with us. We finance those a lot. It'll just require a little more financials and more tax returns, but that's not a big deal.
And I've seen a lot successfully kind of manage both. I hate, again, to the burnout point to suggest that, but, keeping your clients as a contractor while also establishing yourself as your own small business, it's, can be touch and go for a while, but there might be a bridge period there where you can do a little bit of both.
And we do periodically teach a course through the SBDC that's business legal structures, where they kind of hit all the high points on all the different ones, just to kind of give you kind of a primer to be thinking about which direction you should be headed. Anybody else?
One thing while y'all are thinking of your questions, I'd like to add, and it's in all businesses from small to big again, but small businesses is probably pretty important. Be involved in your communities. Get out and be active in your community. If you're improving your community, it's going to improve your business. So stay involved. Be at all the activities. Donate your time, your effort back into your community, and it will come back, pay off in your business.
I love that point, and I would be remiss if I didn't shout out how wonderful downtown Plainview is. We serve 15 counties, and downtown Plainview is one of the best downtowns, if not the best downtown in this region. And several of you are downtown businesses. You have a Main Street program, you have your chamber, your EDC. You should all be actively involved in those organizations, even if you're not physically, let's say, located in your downtown. You all have economic development corporations in your communities. Several of them are here today. Those are the type of community relationships to be building as well, because when things come up, you already have an in. So definitely your community involvement. I love that.
All right, well, thank y'all for participating with us. If you have any other questions, you're welcome to reach out to us at our tables or grab our business card and reach out to us later. But thank you, guys. This has been great.